There are a lot of people that are working to stop Zohran Mamdani from becoming the mayor of New York City after he won the recent New York City Democratic primary for mayor. And I wonder if one of those groups will surprise people, because I think the left may actually get in his way. I'm Kaivan, a political commentator and attorney. Let's get into it. Time and time again, we've seen the leftist movement and democratic socialists turn on their own stars. We've seen that happen with folks like AOC, where you have people now interrupting her town halls from the left to call her a corporate sellout, say she's pro-genocide, all of these things. And I wonder if we'll see some of that with Mamdani too, because, part of what has been going for him is this amazing momentum that allowed him to pull off a major upset. And he really needs that momentum to continue even past the time that he would get elected in the general election. And I'll explain why as we get along this video. But I want to show you just a quick clip of a protester engaging Mamdani.
Why do you stare at with a question? What do you stare at about politicians that constantly reaffirm Israel's right to exist? Because people like me are constantly attacked by politics for standing up for Palestine, and you are constantly defending the right for Israel to exist. My family is in Palestine right now, constantly under attack, and I'm hearing you say free Palestine, it is so Israel has the right to exist. Don't be hypocritical. Don't be hypocritical and say free Palestine when you're also defending the right for Israel to exist. That does not have the right to exist. That does not have the right to exist. It's not your land. This thing has the right to exist.
This is an interesting example because obviously so much of this campaign has been about criticizing Mamdani for his stance on Israel, with a lot of people trying to label him anti-Semitic. And here you have somebody protesting that he is too pro-Israel. So he's kind of getting it at both ends. And I think, there is a contingent of the left and a contingent of all political movements, I would say maybe less in the center or moderate lanes, where politics is a lot about social dynamics and personality for a lot of these people that are more passionate about these leftist politics. And so it becomes a little less trendy, a little less interesting when suddenly your candidate that you early supported goes mainstream and is now, the Democratic Party nominee and, is going to have to sort of make a few compromises, if not only if they want to win, but definitely if they want to govern effectively. And it's almost trendier or more sort of counterculture, more interesting to find things to pick at there. And I think we do see a lot of leftists make the perfect the enemy of the good in those situations, sometimes out of true beliefs. So I don't want to dismiss that, but I do feel like there's a little bit of like, what's cool to say and do. And a good example is, he just gave this answer where a local reporter asked him, to what extent are you going to be willing to compromise to get things done? And I think he gave a decent answer. Watch here.
But what I'm drilling in on is, are you willing to compromise? Not your values, but them saying, we got to do it this way. Is that a conversation you're willing to have?
Absolutely. Because I know what it is that I'm fighting for. And also, there are many different partnerships we have to build. And delivering something in its infancy is better than delivering nothing at all.
You could see a lot of his strongest core base being upset by that answer, saying he's caving, saying he's giving into the system. But of course, he's running within the system and he wants to be leading within the system to make change, as so many other progressive voices have done, only to, again, be torn down and attacked by those who would have initially necessarily supported them. They say you campaign in poetry and you govern in prose. There's a lot more detail to address and a lot more nuance. For example, right now in New York City, there's a big debate among local electeds about this issue of whether the NYPD should have been allowed to march in the Pride Parade in uniform. Here's a little more context on it. It's interesting to see him appear with Tish James at Pride. There's been a lot of discourse in the last 48 hours about the organizers of Pride not allowing the NYPD to march in uniform at the parade. And a lot of people have, of course, been calling on Donnie to give his position. Cuomo's weighed in saying he thinks NYPD should be allowed to march, and Tish James has done the same. Now, the dispute is over whether officers are allowed to wear their uniforms in the parade. It's a little complicated because the policies of the parade don't allow weapons at the parade. And So you could ask, why don't they just show up, march in uniform without their weapons? Well, that would be against protocol of the NYPD. So therefore, they're effectively barred from wearing their uniforms at the parade because their weapons would not be allowed. Ultimately, I don't think Mamdani's weighed in on the issue, but he will eventually have to start weighing in on issues like this. And every answer he gives will alienate some people and maybe build bridges with some other people. And maybe his base will be excited by the majority of those answers. But at the end of the day, he really needs that coalition that he's built that won him the primary to stay intact. He can't suddenly lose the energy and momentum. And I think what I'm seeing on TikTok, what I'm seeing in different places of the left kind of going at each other over this specific candidate and this race is once you do that and you add that level of like sort of divisiveness and toxicity in, it does take away from the joy and the energy of an exciting campaign. And that has to last not just till November for him to get elected, but really through November and through his term as mayor, because he is really running on this pitch that he has the momentum and energy behind him to get huge change done. And so that will need to come with the argument of the people are all united behind me. And if that looks less and less true and you have factions developing, he's not going to have that social capital to bring into City Hall, which he'll need because most of these people are inclined against passing, these big swings that he wants to do. Anyways, will the left turn on Zohran? Let me know in the comments.